great performer. You're a professional, you get bookings, you destroy audiences, great. But I'll bet that you're making some of the same mistakes I did for years. Mistakes which could be hurting your attendance numbers, crippling your merch sales, and costing you future bookings. Hi, I'm Nathan Allen. Even though you've probably never heard of me, I can help you. I can help you by letting you in on the secrets you need to help you draw bigger crowds, sell more tickets, impress them with your credibility before you even get on stage. And as you know, if they're already on board before you take the stage, it makes your job that much easier. Help you create a buzz at your merch table after the show so people buy your stuff so you have extra cash in your pocket on the road. Help them keep your business card instead of losing it or throwing it away. Visit your website to watch your videos or sign up on your list or check out your upcoming tour dates. Tell their friends about your show to create positive word of mouth, and remember your name for future bookings when they need entertainment. I'm also going to tell you how to get stronger, more descriptive testimonials that you can use on posters, websites, and other promo materials. And all of this combined properly can result in better results for the clients or clubs you work at, better experiences for your audiences, and better shows for you. Please know, though, that this is not one of those how to be a professional entertainer overnight scam classes. In fact, this stuff is only for those of you who already entertain professionally, people who already have a great act. If you're not already working regularly and killing audiences, this stuff will not be helpful for you at all right? I'm also not talking about like the Louis C.K.'s or the Lisa Lampanellis of the world. I'm talking about those of us who go from one-nighter to one-nighter, staying at shitty motels and eating terribly unhealthy food, busting our asses, working the trenches, and loving every minute of it. If that sounds like you, and what I mentioned earlier sounds good, then we're on the same page, and this is for you. Today we are going to cover effective live show poster design to more powerfully attract interest and put butts in seats. We're going to cover effective on-stage signage design to help people remember your name, boost your credibility before you even get on stage, and make your show look more showy. We're going to talk about effectively drawing a crowd to your merch table after the show so you can sell more stuff. We're going to talk about effective business card design. Probably everything you think you know about business cards is terribly, terribly wrong. We're going to turn your card into one that people will actually keep, appreciate, and use. And we're going to talk about how to get powerful, descriptive testimonials that you can use across all platforms, websites, videos, posters, and there's going to be a whole bunch of other useful gems packed in between everything that I don't even have time to list here. Now, I'm doing this because I've had a lot of entertainers who have seen my work and were impressed by what I've done ask me to help them create branding for their gigs, but there are a lot of intricate details and secrets to doing this effectively. Here's what you're not going to learn here. I'm not going to show you how to operate the latest version of Photoshop because I don't know either. You're not going to learn any graphic design softwares. We're going to be talking about the macro, about the big picture ideas. Also, I'm not a professional designer. I'm a professional entertainer. I didn't go to art school, but I have this very narrow specialty that I'm pretty decent at. I can create effective branding for gigs and entertainers that produces results. I learned this stuff bit by bit through trial and error over the course of the past 10 or 15 years or so, out of necessity, because we're traveling, touring entertainers. We need shit that works, and works now. And I'm going to share with you some of the shit that works. This is going to be real nuts and bolts stuff that you can get started on immediately. And it's going to be overwhelming at first. I'm sure some of you, just a few minutes from now, are going to find yourselves thinking, well, screw this, I'm just going to go hire a professional designer. Yeah, you could hire a professional designer to create your stuff from scratch. Maybe they went to art college but don't know shit about our specific industry. I've seen the stuff that professional designers come up with, and although it might be eye candy, it's not effective. It doesn't do what we need it to do as traveling entertainers. Plus, you're probably going to be paying some ridiculous hourly rate Just to give you an idea, a while back I contacted a graphics designer just to kind of get a feel for what they do and how much they would charge, and I explained that I needed a live show poster and kind of talked about my different needs, and it was pretty simple stuff actually, but his ideas about it were very underwhelming and very ineffective, and he was asking for nearly $700 to create a live show poster for me. Do you want to fork over like $700 just for the design alone, plus buy like 10,000 copies of a poster that doesn't produce results? Me either. So you do need to know this stuff, whether you end up doing the design yourself, or farming it out to a third party, or if we end up working together on one of your projects, you still need to know the elements and details of how to brand your gigs effectively, so you're not throwing money down the drain on something that might be pretty but doesn't produce results. You need results. And a lot of this stuff is going to be counterintuitive. It's going to go against the grain of what some professional designer might tell you. Let's get started. Grab a pen and something to write on, and you'll probably want to go back and watch this video a couple of times to let everything kind of soak into your skull meats, because there's going to be a lot coming at you here. Here we go. You know, if the audience doesn't show up, what is even the point of being a good performer if you're performing to an empty room? Posters are very important. When you have a live show coming up, this is how most of the people are going to hear about it. So your posters need to pop, attract attention, look professional, create interest, and sell them on the quality of your show, all in printed form and in a limited space. First off, you are not AC/DC. So simply putting your logo or picture or name on a poster and expecting people to show up is silly and egocentric. You are not as big a deal as you think. None of us are. So you have to grab their attention and then sell them on the quality of the show. I found that a great double-edged way to both grab their attention and demonstrate the quality of your show is to use strong, descriptive, short but sweet testimonials from clubs, clients, and media appearances you've made. All of my personal posters have relied strongly on testimonial quotes. And at first I kind of did it accidentally. When I was creating my first posters, I was looking for a way to describe the show, and honestly I'm not very good at tooting my own horn. I'm not good at bragging up my own show. So I figured, what better way to give an honest description than through somebody else's words? So I went back and looked at some of the letters of recommendation and testimonials I had and started to use that. And I started to use those on my posters. And as it turns out, having someone else describe your show for you is also very powerful in the written form, because we as entertainers could talk till we were blue in the face about what our show is all about and how good we are and how much the audience is going to love it. But what really matters is what other people are saying. That is what people listen to. In fact, you should use testimonials in all of your stuff, from posters to websites to demo videos. A little tangent about getting testimonials. I've had other entertainers how the hell I get so many strong testimonials from clients, and this tactic does work for other people too who have tried it. Here's the secret. Are you ready? You ask. At first, when I started doing shows, I would send a thank you note, and I was so young, I would ask for what I called a letter of recommendation, asking if they could write up a few sentences that I could use for future bookings to show people who were interested in hiring me. And that kind of worked for a while, but they all sounded so stilted and formal that they weren't very effective for using as kind of like a short bam quote. And then I stumbled on a very effective way to both get honest feedback, which would help me improve my entertainment services, and get strongly worded, descriptive testimonials. I started sending, along with a thank you, also a comment card, a pre-addressed, pre-stamped comment card. Nowadays I mostly do this online and call it like a client survey or a 6-question pop quiz. A written one will probably get you more response because it feels more personal, like a physical one that you get in the mail. But anyway, here are the questions that I ask and how they get me such strongly worded descriptive quotes to use in my promo. Question 1. How would you personally rate the overall quality and entertainment value of the show? From 10 being I loved it to 0 being I hated it and you should die. In general, how well do you feel the audience members enjoyed the show? 10 being they loved it and 0 being they wanted to throw rotten fruit at the stage. Something interesting here, the answers to question 1 and 2, the 10-star rating, almost always they have different answers. Like they say that the audience thought it was a 9, but I thought it was a 10, or vice versa. It's really odd. I don't quite understand why. Question 3. How would you describe the show to someone who has never seen it before? How would you personally describe it? Good or bad, please be as colorful and detailed as possible. Did you overhear any comments from the audience members? What were people saying? And this question right here is how you get great descriptive testimonial quotes, because they are literally describing your show. Question 4. Do you have any suggestions for improving my services, either on stage or off? Be honest and do not worry about hurting my feelings. Give it to me straight. I'm a big boy. I can take it. This is a great way to get feedback on improving your entertainment services. Maybe you said or did something that they thought wasn't cool and you didn't even realize it and they were too embarrassed to say anything in person. If there are any complaints, 99% of the time they're going to be isolated incidents that you could have known nothing about beforehand. Just crazy shit, like they thought some joke was a bit too risque because Jennifer from accounting has a cousin and that cousin knows a guy who once got into a fender bender or something stupid like that. Other suggestions are going to be helpful, like maybe they're going to suggest you should send more posters next time or respond to your emails in a more timely fashion. If you start seeing repeated suggestions for improvement from different people at different gigs, it's probably time to pay attention to what they're saying. Question 5. What would you say to someone who was thinking of hiring me for an event similar to yours? This question and this answer are gold because you are getting a statement that is written to future customers from past customers. So while question 3 is going to get the colorful superlatives like the most amazing or the funniest, which are good for posters and the like, in this section, for this question, you're going to get quotes that will actually sell your show to future prospects. Stuff like, if you're on the fence, you got to get this guy. We've had so many compliments at our party from our employees. Then again, if you weren't quite right for their crowd, you might get some kind of like a cautionary warning, like you should only book this guy if none of your people are easily offended, which quite honestly I would use, because that would help weed out some of the crowds I don't want to work for. Because it's not just important to find the right crowds for your act, it's also important to avoid the wrong crowds for your act. So like if you're a squeaky clean magic act, then the rough biker bars probably aren't going to be a great gig for you. Conversely, with my kind of show, I do a rated R comedy magic show, something like a church retreat would be a terrible crowd for me. So it's important to be objective about what your act is and where it works best. Question 6. As you've probably noticed, I use a lot of testimonials on my website and posters. May I use your comments also? Either yes, you may use them, or no, let's just keep this between us. And I also tell them, I respect your privacy. Your comments will only appear as a quote on behalf of your company or organization. I will not share your personal name or contact information with anybody. Of those who take the time to answer the questions, which is about 80% of the gigs I do, almost all of those say yes, go ahead and use my comments. But you still have to ask. So I take the answers that I get back from that client survey after the show. I put all the answers together, creating one long cohesive testimonial, and I keep that full version on file in case I need it some other time. but for use on posters and other spaces where there isn't room for an entire full paragraph, well, then what I do is I kind of cherry pick the most exciting parts of that testimonial and get rid of the less effective fluff and filler, the stuff that isn't too important to the message, and bam, there's your strong descriptive testimonial. But don't pull out so many parts that it changes the original intent of who wrote it. For example, if someone wrote that your show was horrific on a very impressive level, you should be ashamed to call yourself a real entertainer, then you probably should not then change that to very impressive, a real entertainer. You know what I mean? So take out the fluff, keep the colorful language, but also always keep the original intent of the writer in mind. So back to the poster. You've got your testimonials. You want to find one of your strongest or most descriptive testimonials and display it prominently. Probably not their entire sentence or the entire testimonial. Just take some of the strongest, most descriptive parts out and use that. Here are some of the types of descriptive testimonials I'm talking about. This is what's on my current poster. You can see we have a big one across there, smaller ones scattered around. And you want that strong testimonial in large print and generally at the top of the poster. This will sort of act like a headline or attention grabber. So it has to be a testimonial that sounds enticing. Do not make the mistake I've made and display your name all huge and the testimonials in tiny and think that the name will get the attention, because nobody gives a shit about us. Making your name huge compared to everything else, that strokes our ego, but that's about all it's good for. Unless you're a household name like Ron White or Chris Angel or Metallica, that's not going to work. You got to get their attention with other people's words and then tell them who you are. So put your short but powerful descriptive testimonial in large print at the top, and then have some smaller print quotes, maybe longer, more detailed quotes further down into your poster. And I recommend below each testimonial crediting it to the company or organization who wrote it, along with their city and state. After they've already read other people's words about you, then you can go a little deeper, maybe a short paragraph describing what you do in a bit more depth, maybe some recognizable logos of past credits or appearances or clients you've had. The key word is recognizable, stuff like Comedy Central, Sirius XM, The Bob and Tom Show, any talk show appearances, any gigs you've done for companies that a lot of people have heard of. Also any awards or competitions you've won. They might not know what those competitions are, but it sounds good on a poster. This is to build credibility for someone who has never heard of you before. Other entertainers aren't going to give a shit about this stuff, but the general public does appreciate it. I'll bet you probably have more impressive past appearances than you think you do. Go back through your records and take a notebook paper along with you and jot down these company names you've worked for and clubs that actually have pretty good reputations. You're probably going to impress yourself with what kind of past appearance list you can come up with. And of course, you're going to want a space on the poster for the details of the upcoming appearance. You want this to be a blank space that can either you can either type in and have printed, or your client can download from your website and fill in their own details if you're working on a time crunch. In that event section, when you've got the date, time, place, and all that, you need to specifically tell them to do something and how to do it. Like visit the bar or call this phone number right now to reserve your tickets. That's called a call to action, and everything you create should have one. You have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of this piece? Who is going to look at it, and what do I want them to do? And then you have to tell them to do exactly that. And by the way, while you do want your poster available for download on your website, I am a huge believer in completing the posters yourself as the entertainer or your agent or manager if you have one, and then physically mailing a big stack of posters to your client. It's impressive when they receive this 80-pound package, and maybe it's not that much, but they're impressed when they receive these nice looking posters in the mail. And it also eliminates a lot of the hassle for them because the fewer steps that are in the way of your posters being hung up and doing their job, the better. Like if your customer has to complete the posters themselves and then email that to their local printing company and then go pick them up and pay for them, or if you send them a big stack of blank posters and they have to handwrite all the details in themselves, or if they have to print up their own at home and don't really want to use up $82 worth of ink cartridges, they're going to procrastinate doing all of that, or not do it all, or not hang nearly as many posters as they should, you know? And I would not use your own home printer. I suggest ordering them from your local printing store like Staples or Kinko's or the Ma and Pa copy shop down the street. For some reason they just look better because of how they're produced on professional grade printers. I don't know what it is, but the colors pop and there's a nice shine to them. Plus you're not wasting the time doing the printing, dealing with the jammed printer, running out of ink, all that junk. And not only do I physically mail the printed custom posters to the venue, I also email them directly their custom gig poster in multiple file formats, digital. So they have them on hand if they need to get some more printed on short notice. We got 11 by 17s, 8.5 by 11 versions of that, smaller half-page versions where 2 small versions of the poster fit onto a letter-sized page. They get all that. They get color versions, they get black and white versions, just so they have it on hand. And they have a nice high-resolution, crisp image of their poster to use any way they might need, like to put on Facebook or to send to the local newspaper, or have a beer distributor make a banner out of it. Actually, here's a couple of banners of mine that Budweiser made for live shows at small town bars, using the image of the poster that I was using at the time. It was good for them because it was really easy for Budweiser to throw it together, being kind of pre-made. And it was good for me because I got these giant ass banners to hang in my office. Yeah, you better believe I stole them after the show. Those look cool, man. Not terribly happy with that exact poster design. This is one of the mistakes I made. I made my name too big. I made the testimonials too small. But you live, you learn, and learn from my mistakes. Now, when I email those custom poster images to my client, I also send them a few different file types, like a PNG image, JPEG image, and a PDF set up to print with proper margins. I also include, as I mentioned, both color and black and white, so they have what they need immediately when they need it. And at the very bottom of the poster, below the special event appearance details, if you want them to visit your website, tell them and give them a reason to. My current poster directs people to my website in order to learn free tricks and pranks that you can use to screw with your friends. A comedian could have visit Filthy McNasty's website to watch a hilarious preview video. Some type of call to action. The more appealing your offer here, the better it's going to work, but any call to action is better than no call to action. Well, on the topic of posters, QR codes. I see a lot of gig posters, especially bands these days, with QR codes at the bottom. That's where you can scan this goofy little square barcode with your smartphone and it takes you to a web page or whatever. Personally, I would advise against using a QR code. I really don't think anyone actually uses them. You see them everywhere, but I think primarily they're just the result of designers who went to marketing school and think that because it's kind of a new thing, they should put it on all this stuff. I mean, I've even seen them on billboards on the side of the highway. Now, who the hell is gonna pull out their phone while they're driving 80 miles an hour to scan that code on the billboard while they're driving? Come on, that's ridiculous. Personally, I think QR code is on its way out. I don't use a QR scanner on my phone. Do you? I don't know anybody that actually does. And I think the space on your poster would be much better utilized than being taken up by this big ugly square that doesn't actually communicate anything at the time. But that's just me. I could be wrong. If you really want one though, I can create one for you if we end up working together on a design project for you. The point of that is you got to use your space wisely. You got to pack a lot of stuff in there, but without making it look too cluttered or too amateurish or too time consuming to read. That's a big one. If what they see is on a flyer is just your headshot and then your bio all written out, it's going to look like too much of a pain in the ass for them to even read, so they're not going to read it. They'll just skip right over it. But at the same time, if it's too sparse, it's not going to get the job done. Like Guns N' Roses can just slap their logo and date, time, place, ticket info on a poster, and that'll work for them. But we do not have the luxury of being so recognizable. So we have to create a poster that grabs their attention, draws them in, so before they even realize it, they've looked over the entire poster all the way down to your call to action. Contact the bar, get your tickets, visit the website, that kind of thing. Creating a poster that has a lot of information in it, but is still attractive and doesn't look too overwhelming to read is a very delicate balance. It's arguably the most time-consuming part of designing a poster. If you have a bunch of logos from past appearances, you got to find a good balance so that whole section looks cohesive, but they have to be large enough and bold enough that they're legible even when the poster is reproduced in a smaller size. Size of poster. Design your poster with its end use in mind. Like, is it only going to be used on an 11 by 17 print, or are people going to need a letter-sized 8.5 by 11-inch version? Do people want matching small handbill flyers, like those half-page things I mentioned? Is the poster image going to be used online? A lot of gigs will use your poster as the main image of a Facebook event invite, for example. Will it always be in color? Or more likely, are people going to photocopy it and make some black and white copies? Is it going to be reproduced as a small newspaper ad? Your poster has to look good and legible and balanced, and above all, communicate effectively in both full color at a large size and in black and white at a much smaller size. And it has to print out properly with the proper margins if they're printing it. It sounds pretty narrow, but I've found that a margin on posters of 0.125 inch is good. It maximizes the usable space on your poster, but it still has a bit of a margin that the printer needs to get their job done. So you have to design your poster with print sizing in mind, right down to the fraction of an inch, right down to the exact pixel dimensions. So if I'm designing an 11 by 17 poster that's going to be printed with a 0.125 inch margin, that means I need to set my canvas to actually be a little bit smaller than 11 by 17. I need it to be 10.75 inches by 16.75 inches. So everything's even, and so your image doesn't get distorted and stretched, and so parts of your poster don't get cropped off during printing. So these are all things you have to consider when you're designing an effective poster. But once you get the initial work done and start getting one designed, this is a poster that you can use for many gigs for several years if you want, with only minor tweaks and adjustments. And at the end of this video, I'll let you know how we can work together to design your poster for you so you have a solid professional poster image in multiple file formats, multiple color options, multiple sizes, but more about that later though. This is an often overlooked but very easy way to create a positive impression when your audience walks into the room before you even start performing. If you're like a comedian or someone without a lot of stuff on stage, like maybe a one-man singer-songwriter, it's also an easy, very portable, and very lightweight way to make your show look more like a show instead of just a sound system set up in the corner. When you have properly designed, properly lit banners hanging up, people are going to walk in and be like, all right, there's going to be a show, and it's going to be held there, and it looks like it's going to be professional, this is going to be fun. And this isn't only important at nightclubs, by the way. It's also very important at corporate events, like if you have your stuff set up prior to the guests arriving at a corporate event, you want the guests at the party to anticipate your show that's going to happen later. And as you know, if the audience is interested and is anticipating your show from the get-go, your overall show is going to go much smoother. When you're designing your onstage banners, no matter the size, here are the three major elements you want to include and the benefits you'll get out of including each of these. Element number one, a testimonial or two. Just like your live show posters, this technique will boost your credibility before you even step on stage. There you have someone else describing how good the show is going to be. My current banners do not have this, but I'm definitely going to get testimonials on them for the next set that I order. Element number two. Obviously you're going to want your name or the name of the show on there somewhere. This will keep your name in front of them all night throughout the whole show, before and after, which is going to make it much more likely that they'll remember your name in the days, weeks, and months after your show. Because you could knock it out of the park on stage, and that's great, but when they walk away and tell their friends, you want them to say something like, well, we had a great time at Joe McFunny's comedy show last night, and not just that we saw a good comedian. What was his name? Jack? Jason? And you need them to remember your name if you want them to tell their friends about you, check out your website, find you on Facebook, or maybe even book you for a gig in the future. If they're seeing Joe McFunny in front of them all night, you can be sure that they're going to remember you by name, and not just that they saw an entertaining show. Also, having your name in front of them on the banners. If people take photos or videos of you performing during the night, those banners are going to put your name right there in front of their friends when they share them on Facebook or YouTube or whatever. Dozens of times I've even seen people taking photos with the banners after the show. Element number three, you're going to want a call to action on your banners, directing people to, for example, visit your website, but with a specific beneficial reason. One of my sets of banners has the learn free tricks and pranks offer, and another one set that I have has an offer for a free copy of my movie, which I made as a free download. Now you can get creative with this. Some people have a call to action that's something to the effect of, for booking info call, but I think that looks kind of desperate and it feels kind of tacky and gross if you're performing at a nice corporate party. On the other hand, a call to action that offers them something fun just feels like a little gift, like a little bonus. The type of banner and the size will depend on your particular needs, but here is what I have and how I use mine. Now first, I'm sure you've seen those freestanding banners which kind of roll up into their own base and then extend out and can stand up on their own, right? Well, I generally don't use that style. I don't like them because, well, the way I use mine is much more practical and portable and takes up way less space in both travel and on stage. When you have one of those freestanding banners, wherever you set it up is going to take up additional footprint floor space. And some of these stages and rooms that I work in, there's like no extra space for playing around with something like that. Plus you have to position them so they're not being visually blocked by things like speakers or any other props or equipment or people on stage. Also with those freestanding, there is the possibility of them shaking around or tipping over if you're on one of those portable stages like a lot of hotel banquet halls have, that are kind of unsteady and kind of shake when people walk on them. There's also more possibilities of breakage with those freestanding banners, like the roll-up spring unit could break inside the base, or the extendable stand part might bend or break apart. And if you've spent any time on the road at all, you know that if it can go wrong, it will go wrong eventually. So I try to avoid as much possibility for problems as I can by going with banners like this. So what's always sitting off to the edges of the stage? Speakers on speaker stands. So I made my banners so they can hang from my speaker stands right below the speaker, which are always there anyway. And this kind of frames the show between the banners also, giving a nice balanced, cohesive look to your setup. My particular banners are about 5 or 6 feet by 2 feet because that's the size I need to hang below my speakers. In the banners themselves, there are 2 steel rods, one at the top to hold the banner stretched out, and another one at the bottom to create some weight to pull down on the banner so there's no wrinkles from traveling all rolled up. I've attached these little S hooks to the top rod, and that's what hooks onto my speakers. I also have stuff with me like some paracord or string that you can use to hang them on the back wall if there's already a nail or a hook in the wall. And I've also put in a line of strong magnets underneath the vinyl on the steel rod, so if there's something metallic on stage, I can just stick them to whatever. I have multiple options for hanging them like that because in some situations you're going to be performing in a club or a venue where the speaker stands aren't sitting there right on stage. Like maybe they're built into the walls or the ceilings, or it's a surround sound system of some type, and there's just not the option of hanging your banners below the speakers. So that's why I have different options for hanging them up, just in case I don't have my speakers and stands with me. Now I travel with my banners all rolled up like this, and you'll see that that takes up almost no travel space in your luggage. If you already have a bag for your speaker stands, they can go right in there. They're also small enough that you can throw the banners into your suitcase if you're flying to a gig. So you've got them with you, but you don't have to worry about any extra baggage fees. And I light my banners with small lights just sitting on the floor beneath them and aimed straight up. This way, if your speaker stands and banners are sitting outside of the main stage lighting, like outside of your spotlights or whatever, they're still visible and look pretty cool sitting alone all in the dark out there. I use these LED stage lights. These are kind of bulky versions. These are like antiques. They make much smaller ones now that do the exact same thing and operate the exact same way. But these can be set to a particular color that I choose, or they can be set to do a slow fade through all the colors, which I usually go with. I think it looks kind of fun and interesting. The lights I use when aimed up also often hit the ceiling in the venue, which again kind of helps frame the performance space a little more visually and looks pretty neat. But if you just want to go the cheap route with banner lighting, something that'll just get the job done, you can also get those little lightweight clamp lights from hardware stores. They're like 10 bucks or something. Clamp them either at the base of your speaker stands and aim them straight up, or maybe clamp them at the top and aim them straight down. Whatever works for your particular show is fine, as long as they're illuminated. That's pretty important. Whatever you go with for the lighting, you'll want your text and images on your banners to be high contrast for maximum visibility. I just go with straight up black and white for mine, because what's more high contrast than that? And that way they're going to be easily visible, plus I can shine whatever color of light on them that I choose on that particular night. Whatever looks good with that particular stage and venue or event. If you have color in your banners, well then you're not going to have the freedom of choice to choose the color of your lighting, because for example blue light shining onto red ink will cancel out and it'll look black. It just looks terrible. Any text should be laid out and large enough so that it can be seen from your entire audience. This will be dictated depending on how large of crowds you usually perform for. I found that this size is generally sufficient. Again, these are on about 2 foot by 5 or 6 feet banners. For most of the nightclubs and company party gigs I do, these work pretty well. One more important point on stage banners. If you have a choice in the finish of the banner, these are vinyl banners. You can either choose where I get mine made. You can either go with a matte finish or a glossy finish. And I always go with the matte finish because a glossy finish might bounce stage lights off of it and make your banner just completely illegible from out in the crowd. So to sum everything up, you need banners for on stage. They're going to help you a lot. They're going to make your show look more like a show. It gives off a professional feel, builds your credibility before you even get on stage, helps people remember your name, and puts another call to action in front of their eyes during the entire show, and even before the show and after the show. Plus, these banners, they like really tie the room together, man. If you need me to help designing your banners, we'll talk about that a little later. As a touring entertainer, you need to draw your audience's attention to your merch table after the show if you're selling things like CDs, DVDs, or t-shirts, because they might have loved your performance, but if they don't know you have a merch table or aren't sure where you are, if it's a packed room, how can they buy your stuff? So I recommend having a banner over at your merch table, a little bit smaller than your on-stage ones, obviously. You just need something to grab attention, but built pretty much similarly to your on-stage ones. And then have a couple of small, cheap lights over there, even those clamp lights from the hardware store we talked about. They'll get the job done. Have one light aimed at the banner, have another light shining down on your products. This will help draw attention to your merch table, and we also need to give them a reason to visit you there, even if they initially didn't intend on buying one of your products. The more people that initially visit your merch table, the more interest it draws, and the more people that are going to visit. It becomes a snowballing effect. And the more t-shirts and DVDs and CDs you're going to sell. Now, sure, at every show, there's probably going to be some people in each audience who definitely want to buy what you're offering, and they're going to seek you out no matter what. Maybe they're already raving fans, or maybe a particularly funny t-shirt just resonates with them, and that's fine. But you want more people to visit. So how do you get more people to your merch table in the first place? Here's what you do. You offer them something that they'll like, something fun, something free. It's what's called a magnet or a giveaway item. If you're a comedian, this could be a little photocopied booklet of some of the dirtiest street jokes you've ever heard in your travels. Just like letter-sized paper, printed in black and white, folded in half to look like a little booklet. I'm a magician. I could have a similar flyer of tricks that the audience members could teach to their kids or grandkids. Could be a funny bumper sticker. Bumper stickers are cheap. And it doesn't even have to be a physical item. What Dog and I have started doing in the Dirty Jokes and Magic Tricks show is offering video of tonight's show in a secret link. We'll email it to you next week, so come sign up at the table with the t-shirts and stuff. So now you're offering something of value, video of tonight's show, and at least with our shows, almost every show is different, and we do a lot of audience interaction, and they're going to probably want to show their friends the crazy shit that went down with Bob from the feed store. Plus, they're giving us their email address, so we can stay in contact with them by sending them additional funny videos, and ultimately let them know when we're going to be back in their area. The video that we send them of the show isn't the full uncut show. Our show is like 2.5, 3 hours sometimes. We cut it down and just do highlights or crazy stuff that happens. It's usually about an hour. But you know, if you're just a one-person act, even a half-hour version of the highlights of your show are fine. And we send it in an unlisted link on YouTube. So it's not searchable, it's not putting it out there for all of your subscribers, And the way an unlisted link works is only the people with that particular link, that particular URL, have access to it. They don't have to log in, but they get the link emailed to them, just that link for that show to that particular group of sign-up people. We email them that link, and then they can share it with their friends if they want. That doesn't really matter to me. I really don't care. And when you have their email address, be responsible with it. Don't spam them with shit every day. Just send them valuable content and relevant announcements. So you got to think about what kind of magnet or giveaway item might be relevant to your show, but also valuable in some way to your audience. So I'm not talking just a bumper sticker of your logo here. Again, nobody cares about your logo except you. If you're going with a physical item for your magnet giveaway item, as opposed to an email offer, consider having a limited number of giveaways to get people to hustle over quicker and draw a crowd faster. Maybe something like your onstage pitch could be like, I've put together this badass booklet of 99 of the dirtiest jokes I've ever heard in my travels. These booklets are free over at that table with the t-shirts, but I only have a couple dozen of them left, so come on over and say hello and grab yours. Oh, and for your merch table banner, you're going to want to mention your offer in that. Like, sign up here to receive video of tonight's show in your email, and then maybe a little arrow pointing down at your table. Or sign up here to receive 100 of the dirtiest jokes in your email. Or sign up here to receive 12 fun tricks in your email that you can do to screw with your family and friends. You get the idea. Also, having an offer like that on your sign will seem much less awkward than like a huge sign that says official merchandise, like some bands are a fan of doing. That looks horrible. Or come on over here and buy my shit, please. You're going to want to push your magnet giveaway benefit-oriented freebie offer, but also obviously on that table you have your t-shirts or your CDs or your panties for sale. Oh, and about your merch table, payment methods for your merch sales. Cash is nice, obviously, but more and more people today are only using credit or debit cards, and offering to take payments with a card back at your merch table will likely result in more sales, for those people that don't have a bunch of cash in their pocket at the time. A couple of good portable options are both PayPal and Square. They both make a thing that you can plug into your smartphone and swipe a credit card with. They're super portable. As long as you have internet data or access to Wi-Fi on your smartphone, you can generally use them. And you just swipe, process the payment, the money goes into your account, and you can have the option to email or text a receipt, I believe, instantly with those options also. It's pretty cool. And you will no longer have to send people away from the table. You know, people who were interested in buying your stuff, but because you didn't take cards, they had to wander away to find an ATM machine and probably got distracted with friends and never came back. Anyway, on your merch table, those CDs and DVDs have got to have a good looking cover, an appealing cover, because let's face it, people do judge based on the cover, and if that cover doesn't catch their eye, they're not even going to take a closer look to see what it's all about or ask you any questions about it. Obviously, there's way too many intricacies in merch design to cover here because there are so many different options. Maybe you already have some good looking merch, that's great, but if you need, I can help you design specific projects if you want to utilize my design services down the road sometime. Here are a few of the products I've done in the past. Here's a zombie apocalypse radio prank CD. This is one of my products, actually. This one's very popular because it's something that people can use to screw with their friends. I also offered this as a downloadable audio file on my website. If you want to see what that's all about, you can go to maniacofmagic.com/zombies, and there's a video there. It'll kind of show you how I pitched that particular product. It's enjoyable. We're having a lot of fun with that one. Here's another one of mine. It's a can koozie. For my next trick, I'm going to make this beer disappear. People think that's funny, and it ties in with my act. This is a DVD cover redesign for a documentary called American Smartass. They just weren't quite happy with the initial covers for the first release. And this here is the final product we ended up with. I designed that. I highlighted the fact that it's scoring 5 stars on Amazon and used some of the reviews from customers displayed prominently on the back. There's another example of using testimonials. And I gave the overall feel of the DVD kind of a grittier look, because it is kind of a gritty documentary. It's pretty funny. I recommend picking that up if you get a chance. Here's a CD I designed for my show partner, Dog. This one is called Totally Baked, and he pretty much gave me free rein to just play with some ideas and have fun designing it. So I actually took these photos in my girlfriend at the time, she's my wife now, I took these photos in her kitchen and edited the hell out of them and put Dog getting literally baked in an oven in the back. We've got brownies on the front with his little logo, you know, kind of peeking out. And on the inside, that little star up in the corner, that is advertising a free bonus inside the CD, which is Dog's special brownie recipe. That one's doing pretty well at the merch tables also. Here's a DVD I did for myself. It's my movie called Only Fooling Myself. Anyway, you get the idea. These are just some examples. We can talk later if you want me to design your stuff for you or help you out with that. And by the way, I found that the best-selling merch is something that makes people laugh, like a funny opinion on a shirt or a funny can koozie, or ways in which they can mess with their friends. Just like a t-shirt with just your logo or your picture or whatever, it's probably not going to do that great, honestly. A t-shirt with a joke that only makes sense to people who have seen your show probably isn't going to do that great either. You want something that ties in thematically with your act, but something that people can appreciate outside of the context of having just seen your show. Like that can koozie. For my next trick, I'm going to make this beer disappear one. That ties in with my show perfectly, but it's also funny to somebody who has never seen my show before and has no idea who I am. But we can talk about your ideas for merch later if we work together. The main point is you got to draw attention to your table and then get people over to your table. And while they're hanging out, if they liked you and your stuff is interesting and fun and good looking, you're likely going to sell stuff to people who otherwise would have never even been at your table so they could even see the cool shit that you have. It's like this. I never go to the store with the intention of buying a soda. But while I'm waiting in line at the cashier, there's that cooler there. Sometimes I pick one up simply because I was there and it was there and we looked at each other and it was magic. It's called an impulse purchase. And your $5 koozie or your $10 CD or your $20 t-shirt could definitely be an impulse purchase for someone whose only intention was to come over to your table and get your free thing you were offering. Business cards. If you currently have business cards, be honest, how many of those cards given out all willy-nilly actually result in bookings? You've probably given out thousands of cards and you've probably gotten not many bookings directly from those. There's a reason for that. When most people get a business card, they don't even really want a business card. They're just trying to think of anything to say to this entertainer because of this great show that they just saw. They want to interact with you somehow. So asking if you have a card is one way to do that. It's pretty common for most people. It's kind of an icebreaker. And when most people get a business card, it gets jammed into their wallet behind dozens of other business cards, you know, right in front of that condom that they've been keeping in there since the 10th grade, or it gets dropped into the never-ending bottomless pit of a purse. Honestly, a business card can be a complete waste of time and money if you do it wrong. And most people who have business cards are totally doing it wrong. First off, you do not want to just have a business card that has your name, rank, and serial number on it. Instead, you want a specific call to action, like we've talked about before. Sure, have your other contact info and such, but prominently displayed, you want a specific call to action and some benefit for doing that. If I were just making myself some kind of generic business card, for example, I would probably use visit maniacofmagic.com to learn some free tricks and pranks that you can do to screw with your friends. You can get creative with this. Also, you don't want your business card to get lost in a sea of other business cards or random items in a wallet or a purse. And business cards are small. They're designed to slip into a wallet, and that's the inherent problem with them. So I suggest using something larger than a typical business card. Business cards are generally, in America, 2 inches by 3.5 inches. So why not use something like 3 inches by 5 inches, or even 4 by 6 inches? So if you combine the weird larger size, so it doesn't get lost, with a specific benefit-oriented call to action, you're going to reduce your chances of it being merely thrown away, which is just you throwing money away, essentially. Another tip, if you're going to have cards, I suggest having different cards with different calls to action depending on who you're giving it to. For example, for fans and audience members and the general public, my card might have that go to the website to learn tricks offer that I keep mentioning. But for someone who I was chatting with who was seriously interested in booking me for a company party, I might have a different card. Like go to such and such website to receive my free ebook, 13 mistakes event planners make when planning the company party and how to avoid them. Or for a bar owner who wants to try entertainment, my card might offer a free video, 17 mistakes 82% of bar and club managers make when promoting live entertainment. That kind of thing. You get the idea. Something specific, something benefit-oriented, something that they'll get some value out of. You could also have another card specifically for audience members at shows. If you only want to invest the time and money in designing one card, this is the one I would do. What you do is you take this card and you arrive early and you scatter them on the tables where everybody's going to be seated. And on this card you have something to the effect of, thank you for coming out to the show tonight, and then you offer your magnet item, like offering to send them video from tonight's show, and you direct them to your merch table right there on the card that's going to be in front of them. You know, to receive tonight's show video in your email for free, visit the table in the back of the room. And on those audience cards, you should also include a call to action to your website or your Facebook. You know, like me on Facebook and tag me in any crazy photos or videos from tonight. It's more interaction with your fan base. And if we end up working together doing designing for you, for your projects, I'll give you my secret source that can hook you up with a shitload of cards, all with your call to action on them, all full color, glossy, edge bleed, they look great, and they're going to be cheap enough that you can give one card to every member of your audience. Like in a crowd of 100, I'm saying, you get there early, you put those cards out at everybody's seat. A crowd of 100 people. At the time I'm recording this, I just checked the prices, and it's only going to be about $2.75 for that entire audience to have your message in front of them. For less than the price of a Starbucks cup, really. You can, well, not the cup, but you know, the coffee side. But point is, it's cheap, and you can put your message in front of all 100 audience members at that show for just a few bucks, which will remind them to go find you after the show at your merch table, and it's something they'll likely keep to look you up online later. And get this, this doesn't look desperate because you're offering them something so they in fact appreciate it. If you just have a standard business card, which is a call for booking info, etc., that looks desperate, that feels gross, nobody wants to see that. I'm glad you were able to take the time to watch this video. I trust you got some good ideas. I trust this was of value to you. Keep in mind all of the great information you just learned. This was just what I gave away for free. And it was kind of generic because I don't know you personally, I couldn't customize it for you, but it was still valuable, wasn't it? So imagine what we could do for you if you had my personal attention. If you are serious about branding your gigs to draw better crowds, boost your credibility before you even get on stage, make your show look more impressive, sell more merch, and burn your name into your audience's memories, click the link right below this video and let's take branding your gigs to the next level. And by the way, my design fees are not going to be anywhere close to that $700 for a single poster bullshit example that I gave earlier. I'm not a professional designer, I'm a professional entertainer. I didn't go to art school, but I have this very narrow specialty that I'm pretty decent at. I can create effective branding for gigs and entertainers that produces results. So click the link right below this video and let's take branding your gigs to the next level. And when I hear from you, I will email you back as soon as I can, and we will get started on really branding your gigs immediately. So click that link now and we'll chat soon.